Welcome to the MBD podcast show where we dig into actually what's working when it comes to scaling businesses, and in this case, a law firm. And today's guest, our special guest, I'm going to have him introduce himself. He's going to talk about how he's been able to build his law firm to the point where he's got it running pretty well. So please take it from here.
I'm Matt Biren. I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing for more than 50 years, and I've got an interesting story about how we built our firm. I started out working for a firm that represented labor unions, and I did that kind of work for 3 years, 4 years, and was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, where I got to try lots and lots of cases in federal court and administrative courts and arbitrations. I was in trial almost all the time. But the firm also did personal injury work, and that attracted me because I like the idea of being able to represent underdogs, people who were injured and were in desperate need of somebody to be on their side and fight with insurance companies, fight with large corporations that engaged in conduct that ended up being directly related to their injuries. So I started in the same firm working in doing personal injury work for a while. I did both representing the labor unions and the personal injury work. But eventually the firm broke up after I'd been there about 4 or 5 years, and it broke into pieces. And one of the pieces was the personal injury business, which at the ripe old age of 29 years old, I became an owner together with a guy who was about 10 years older than I was. And we took that portion of the business, and that essentially has developed into the firm that it is today. My partner, when we started the firm, unfortunately passed away at the ripe old age of 47, 3 years after we formed the business. So at 32 years old, I was not only an owner of a firm, I was a sole owner of the firm and had to figure out how to make things work.
No, it's conversational. So you've got this new firm and you've got some cases, I'm sure, already established. Now, what are you doing to help continue to get cases so that way you have a constant stream of people coming through that become clients?
Sure. Well, in the firm that I worked for, there were 3 components of it. They represented labor unions. Mm-hmm. Then they had, actually, the guys who started the firm were workers' compensation lawyers. And so their practice was essentially representing people from the labor unions. And then the personal injury people had a practice, which most of it was cases that were started as workers' compensation cases, and had personal injury aspects to it because somebody other than their employer caused the accident. So when the firm broke up, I had these contacts. We actually still were under a contractual agreement to take care of the personal injury cases that came out of the workers' compensation or labor businesses that broke off from that firm. And we accepted their work and we paid them a referral on it. So at the beginning, a substantial amount of the cases we had were really related to the same sources we had been getting when I was in the larger firm. But gradually, I saw the handwriting on the wall that these firms were not particularly stable, and I thought that we needed to develop other sources of business. So I started meeting I was young, but I started meeting other young lawyers and developing relationships with them, especially lawyers who were doing personal injury business, but didn't have the ability to handle the type of cases that we were capable of handling, both in terms of just experience and background, because I was fortunate and was handling large injury cases right from the beginning. And also the financial wherewithal to handle large cases. So gradually we started getting more and more business. This is in the late 70s and the early 80s, was coming from referral lawyers till it reached a point where probably 40% of our business was from referral lawyers, some workers' comp, but mostly personal injury guys. And 40% was from the firms that we had broken off from, they still were funneling us a regular flow of business. And the other 20% was just people who knew about us from cases we had handled, or just people that I knew. I had a large number of friends, and word gets around. In the starting in the 80s, the world changed because the internet came, and we were one of the first firms to recognize that this was a substantial potential benefit to us being able to market without. We were adverse to doing television advertisements or radio advertisements. We were a small firm, so we didn't have the cash flow to support that kind of media involvement. But I also didn't like it. I didn't. It wasn't my cup of tea. So we started. We developed. We had a website in probably 1982, maybe 1983 at the latest. We were one of the first firms in the West Coast to have a computer network of personal computers. We had like 10 computers. It was extraordinarily expensive in those days. We don't have these things. And it was funny. It was difficult to find people to work for us because all the secretariat type people didn't understand computers and were afraid of them. And when they did come to work for us, we had to teach them how to use them. But it became, it was very interesting. But we also developed a website, and I don't remember exactly when that was. It was sometime in the mid 80s. And we started to occasionally get some business from the website. And that has, over the years, grown tremendously, where today, if I had to break down where we get business from, and it comes from a lot of different sources, but I would say that 25% of it comes from the internet, maybe a little bit more. I would say that another 30 or 40% comes from referral lawyers, and the balance of it just comes from people who know us. A lot of lawyers know that we handle a particular type of case, so if they get that kind of case, they'll give us a call, and we'll partner with them or take it over and pay them a referral fee on it. So that's how we've survived. We don't do. It's interesting because the world again changed, and starting with COVID right around then. Backstory of why there's so many commercials and with lawyers, and why there's so many billboards and lawyers, is that when COVID started, a lot of companies started backing off of their media commitments. So there was a lot of media time available, and they had to discount it tremendously. And some of these lawyers recognize that, wow, we can get into this thing more economically than we were ever able to before. And they started buying up huge amounts of television time, of radio time, of billboards. And that has made a marked difference in our business. There's more and different type of competition today than there ever was before. But it also developed a new source of business for us. One of the things that happens is, I don't want to disparage the lawyers who do this kind of billboard work, but most of the firms who do them, and there's a few notable exceptions, are running them more as businesses than service centers where they're trying to really do the best for the people. They want to just get a large group of cases in, get them out as quick as they can, and settle them for whatever they can. And that creates a market of people who are really unhappy with these lawyers. They've been there a while. They don't get to talk to a lawyer. They're talking to managers or paralegals, and they can't get answers, and they're not happy with where their case is going. And so we are getting an increasing number of cases like that, which we're happy to take over because we think the people deserve better representation than that. So that's become a fairly significant source of business for us too. So that's kind of where we are at this point in time.
Well, that's essentially you're saying these things because I work with a lot of attorneys, and there's the mills, and then there's the ones who really want to make a difference. And I found just in even running sales and marketing for law firms, I've seen two different types of attorney. I've seen the attorney who cares about the end result and has bad customer service
Yeah.
get more negative reviews than the person who doesn't care about the end results and has good customer service. So
I think that's 100% true.
yeah, and you're
And
blending both of those, which is the best of both worlds.
yeah, we're a family business. My partner is my son,
Mm.
Drew, and my wife is a financial in the firm. She runs all the finances of it. I've got another son who works doing some IT stuff for us on a part-time basis.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole firm is run like a family. We don't have turnover. We have the same people who were there
Yeah.
for years. We're only four lawyers, and we have a really different philosophy. Whereas you go to a lot of firms, you're met by a case manager or paralegal or a young lawyer, and you never
Mm-hmm.
even get to speak to the person whose name is on the door.
Yeah.
And even if that person ultimately would try the case, because those people are usually the better lawyers in the firm, they they have a different way of doing it. They have people who prepare the cases, and then the lawyer who's going to try it oftentimes doesn't get involved until right at the very end or close to
Mm-hmm.
the end. We're hands-on from the very beginning. If you come to our firm, you speak to me or you speak to Drew, or and you really have all four of the lawyers and all three of the paralegals will touch your file at some point in time. And we're very open and communicative with our clients. They have our cell phone numbers. They can call us at any time.
Wow.
We encourage them to, anytime they've got questions or concerns, to give us a call. And you're right, that makes a very big
Huge
difference.
difference. Yeah.
Our clients are happy people, at least.
Yeah.
I
I've
think,
run marketing for firms where the owner whose name's on everything doesn't go to court. Don't even work on the files. They
yeah,
like though they may be involved at some points, but essentially the lead attorney or the managing attorney is the one handling everything.
yeah. Now it's very different in our firm. I'm in my 70s now, and
Mm.
I still work every day, and I'm involved in every one of the cases. My son is managing the firm now. I was happy to give over administrative to him, but I stay involved in all the cases. Some of them I handle from start to finish as the lead lawyer. More often than not, I'm just uh, supervising the cases,
Mm.
giving them my ideas, and any case that goes to trial, I'm involved in, either as the lead lawyer, as working on it and helping them with it. So it's a very different type of setup than the mill
Yeah.
operation. So,
Yeah. And back to generating leads, you've got your referrals. What marketing or what digital channels are you leveraging to generate new business, or new potential clients?
well, we have a firm that we work with that has they understand how much we want to spend and
Mm-hmm.
market, and they're willing to work with us within that budget. They kind of have the same attitude that we do. They want to be creative. And things that work for a while and one avenue don't work for a while. Like pay for click worked for a little while and it made some sense. It doesn't anymore to us.
You don't like $400 clicks?
No, we never did, but we tried it on just certain types of cases. We're
Uh,
really interested.
Niche
There's
case. Yeah.
lots of firms that want to cast a big net, and they figure if they catch a bunch of fish, there'll be something worthwhile in there
Yeah.
somewhere. Our attitude is quite different. We'd rather get the cases that we want to handle right from the outset. So in terms of letting lawyers know what we're looking for, in terms of any marketing we do to the public, it's basically that way. One of the things in the last 6 months is the firm that we're working with used to be with a different firm the guys were working with on
Hmm.
IT. They left that firm and opened up their own, and they're much more creative. A lot of the ideas that the other firm wouldn't run with, they're able to do.
Yeah.
So one of the things we've been doing is we're putting out a lot of videos of just Drew and I can sit in an office and talk and be entertaining for an hour at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
on any variety of subjects. We've been doing it our whole lives. So we've been filming it, putting it into little clips.
Yeah.
You know that my house burned in the fire, so we went up to the house and we filmed up there for a while and just turned it into a bunch of little clips. Mostly, we're not really doing the fire cases, so it was mostly just to educate people and
Hmm.
help how to go forward. And that seems to be working. People like
Good.
that. They like listening to people talking in real life terms about what
Yeah.
they. And we stay open to trying anything that we think will work.
Good.
It's
Things move so fast. Yeah.
yeah, if you're a small firm, you can't compete with the and Ronnie's and the Morgan and Morgans who are on television 18 times a day
Right.
and sponsor
Mul-
the Lakers and stuff.
Multi-million dollar campaigns they're running. They make sure to get their average frequency of 3 per week to
Right.
everyone that
Yeah.
exists within the certain area. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of
I
money.
don't know how they do it. It's phenomenal to me how much money they have to make to run their offices with that many people and to pay for all that advertising, even at discounted rates. It's pretty expensive, and I think the discounted rates probably went away during the elections and
Oh,
stuff.
I mean, they've got, they're in every state. They're trying mass tort as well too, so they're getting huge settlements every once in a while that helps fund it, right? And that plus all the little stuff. And they also take a percentage of because they get so many cases, a lot of them they don't take, they'll farm out and they'll take 30%, or they pay 30% to the attorney that they refer it to who takes the case
Right.
that they don't want. So they've saturated the market with themselves.
The interesting thing, a couple of the firms that are mill type firms have apparently recognized that they're missing the boat on not having doing at least some of the really good cases that come
Hmm.
there. So
Yeah.
they'll hire one or two real trial lawyers who will do, and some of them are pretty good,
Hmm.
who have kept some of the cream of the crop, but that's like maybe 0.5% of their business. So it's a different world. Yeah, but you can't if you're a small business, you can't compete with these guys in media. You have to find other ways, and the other ways is just beating the streets and meeting people, particularly if you're good enough to attract other lawyers to send you business, getting to know other lawyers and letting them know what you do and that you're willing to partner with.
What's this? So if you were to start over again today, how would you go about building up that network?
Well, the first thing I'll tell you, one of the concerns I have for young lawyers is that with what's happened since COVID, a lot of them don't even go into the office all the time. And I think that,
Some don't have offices.
or don't have offices. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's such a huge mistake. I can tell you, I started working in the first year of law school, at the end of the first year of law school. Got lucky and found a job. It wasn't even as a law clerk. It was just working for this firm that I ended up working for that did the labor unions and the PI
Hmm.
and comp. And when I first got hired, I just did windows. I did Xeroxing and schlepping and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And then within about a month, I convinced somebody that, you ought to give me some legal work too. So they did that. And I succeeded at that and then became a law clerk there for a couple of years. And succeeded. I was, like I said, in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But I went out to lunch every day with these guys. I hung around at night and had a drink with them before I went home, and we got to talk. And I lots and lots of what I learned was just from listening to them and talking to them and hearing what goes on. Also, we were talking before about lawyers now. All the hearings are mostly by Zoom.
Hmm.
That I think worries me tremendously
Mm.
because when you're on Zoom and doing like yesterday, I had a hearing. There was 10 cases that were heard, and I was the last one, which this
Oh.
judge would be the last one every time. I don't know why. But I have it on my iPad, and I'm working on my computer and just zoning out and kind of half listening to when they call my case. I don't really listen to what's going on. And that's a problem for young lawyers, because when I used to go to court, which was
Mm.
all the time, I would have sometimes sit there for 2 hours in court, listening to other people, listening to the judge, listening to the lawyers argue, listening to what goes on. And it's a learning experience, and young lawyers are missing out on that. I'm extraordinarily concerned, as friends of mine are in almost every business. They're concerned. Every business has the same problems. Auditors that I know have the problems. None of them come in the office, so they don't
Yeah.
have these exchanges. But if I was a young lawyer, uh, if, if I was giving advice to a young lawyer, it would be go to work for a firm. Don't at the very beginning, and take advantage of it and do everything you can possibly do. Volunteer for everything, and learn this business from the start up, and then make some contacts. If you're lucky and can get a job working for a firm that's a high-end firm and has a lot of referral sources and stuff like that, you can learn the business, and then you can go off on your own. Brian Panish, who's one of the great trial lawyers in the city, uh, his dad was a lawyer. He had I'm sure he hung around his dad's firm when he was a kid, but he went to work for Brown Green's office, who's another great lawyer, and he spent years there. And then after he built up his skills and his connections, he left and he formed one of the best personal injury businesses in Los Angeles. He's a fabulous lawyer, but that's how he did it. And that's really how I did it. I didn't have connections like that to get a job. I just happened to fall into a job that was the right one, but I took advantage of it, and I learned an awful lot. I learned how to do this business. I learned how to get business from other lawyers. And I think it's very, very, very difficult to go start out on your own and do this from day one. So I would encourage anybody interested in especially being a trial lawyer, to go to work in a firm that does trial lawyer work. See, even if you want to be a plaintiff's lawyer, it doesn't hurt to work for a defense firm for a while. And they have a lot of business, and you're usually very happy to let young lawyers do things that maybe they wouldn't get a chance to do in the plaintiff's case, because the business model is different. They get paid by the hour.
Yeah.
We don't. It's so that would be, generally speaking, my encouragement. My encouragement would also be, and again, I know the plaintiff's business more than any other business, so I'll talk about that. My strong encouragement would be to become a member of the consumer lawyers associations, both the Los Angeles one if you're in LA, or Orange County if you're in Orange County, and the statewide organizations, CAOC, and to be active in it and to meet the people who run it, because they can teach you an awful lot. And there's, unlike when I was starting out, there weren't a lot of programs to help develop lawyers. Now, especially with what's online, there's no excuse for somebody who wants to be good at this business not to learn how to do it. But I think people contact is so important, and it's becoming more important with this new world of doing everything on Zoom rather than So, and I would encourage them, go to court as often as you can. Even if you don't have your own cases, if you've got the time and can get away for a while, just go sit in court every now and then. Listen to a trial. Walk into a trial and listen to it. Go into a law and motion department and spend a morning there and listen to how the lawyers conduct themselves. It's really critical for lawyers who are just starting out to get that kind of exposure and experience.
I feel that's the same for every business. Get experience. I think a lot of people coming out of college, I was one of them. I didn't want to take a job, or I didn't want to go work for free. I felt I had more value than what I could actually provide. But I still worked for low amounts to get into industries. But I think that grit of being able to get in and start building relationships, I think that's missed. I think they look at the monetary amount and they go, no, I'm worth. And I hear a lot of attorney or law firm owners tell me, like, yeah, these kids are coming out of college wanting 200,000 a year to work cases that they've never done before. Like, how am I supposed to justify paying someone that much who's never even written a brief before? It's just like, yeah, they should be getting in. They should just be happy to get in there and get their foot in the door and start working, start learning, because that payoff will be so much greater in the future versus, I mean, it'd be great to come out and get a $200,000 a year job out, just taking
That's
the bar. But
yeah, one of the things I would encourage young lawyers to do is just work really hard.
yeah,
This isn't an easy business, but volunteer for all kinds of stuff, and just put in the hours. It's a job that's hard. Uh, the only way you learn, you learn by making mistakes. You learn by learning from
hmm
others, and you learn by doing. I mean, there's nobody alive wouldn't laugh at letters or briefs they wrote in the first year. They read them 20 years later. But the way they got to be that good 20
yep,
years later was by working up to it. And now with AI and things like that, there's going to be a lot of tools that never existed before.
oh yeah,
A young lawyer can write a letter and have AI look at it and fix the tone of it and stuff.
yep,
And you learn from that. So we're just starting to scratch the surface of
oh yeah.
what's going to happen in the next 10 years. It's
In the next 5 years, it's going so
I,
fast,
the next year, it
right?
seems the stuff it's at Mach 1 and it's
It
about to go to
is.
Mach 2 and
It is.
change.
Yeah, awesome. So where can people connect with you or learn more about what you're doing?
Well, they can learn more about what we're doing on my website, which is Biren, BIREN.com. You'll learn more than you could ever possibly know about me, about the firm, and our
hmm
background. You can learn about how Perry Mason influenced me to become a lawyer. Um, and anybody who wants to talk to us could just call us. Our number is 310-476-3031. Or you can email me or my son Drew. My email is mbyron, Biren at Biren.com. His is A Biren at Biren.com. A
hmm
for Andrew. That's
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time.
This has been fun. It's my
Yeah.
pleasure. I'm becoming like a Pied Piper in terms of trying to get the word out to young lawyers on how they should try to make a success in this
Yeah.
business.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Take care. It's nice talking to you, Jason.